I had no idea you were saving up so much. Besides, we're married, so there shouldn't be any problem with using our shared property. Yes, it's nasty to hide things. While both my husband and mother-in-law looked down on me and freely continued their conversation, I was dumbfounded and decided to confront them with reality. By the way, did you check whose name is on the bank statement? What? My name is Denise, and I turned 42 this year. I've been married for 17 years, and I was working at a company until then. After getting married, I quit my job and started working part-time at a local supermarket. I met my husband Patrick at work, and back then, I thought he was just an ordinary, kind man. That changed about 6 months after we got married. One day, while I was preparing dinner, my mother-in-law suddenly came to our house without any notice. My husband was still at work, and thinking she might have some urgent matter, I let her in. As soon as she saw the living room, she sighed heavily. "Denise, you're just lazing around watching TV at this hour. My son Patrick is still sweating at work, don't you feel sorry?" Yes, well. Although the TV was on, I had been in the kitchen preparing dinner until just a moment ago. It might seem like I was lazing around, but I had finished the household chores in the morning and had just returned from shopping after my part-time job. Feeling frustrated inside but still politely replying, "I'm sorry." My mother-in-law snorted conspicuously and then entered the kitchen to complain even about the dinner. "Oh dear, is this all you've prepared for dinner today? Poor Patrick, working so hard. I planned to make pasta and salad today. The salad is already in the fridge." Serving such simple food to Patrick, what exactly were you taught at home? Beyond just nagging me, she even started insulting my parents, and I finally got angry and asked her a bit harshly if she had any business coming here. My mother-in-law opened her eyes wide and said, "Oh, how scary. There's no need to get so angry just because I looked at the dinner." Then she exaggeratedly puckered her lips and sat down heavily on the sofa, starting to watch TV. "What is it then?" "What do you mean, what is it? Isn't it normal to offer something to your mother who has come all the way here?" "Excuse me? You don't even serve coffee, how thoughtless." Poor Patrick. While she repeatedly emphasized, "Poor Patrick," I served her coffee. Then, she began criticizing it as well, saying, "This coffee tastes cheap." At that time, being young, I avoided arguing with my husband's mother. However, she took our silence as approval to frequently visit our home and complain about my laziness and the unclean state of the house. Eventually, worn out by her constant criticism, I consulted my husband about his mother. "Hey, could you maybe ask your mom to reduce her visits a bit?" "Why? Is it really such a bother that mom comes over? You've seen that, haven't you? No matter how much I cook or clean, your mother keeps complaining." "That's because she wants you to try harder, Denise." "I am trying, but if she comes over without calling, I can't even prepare dinner properly." "If it bothers you, you should tell her yourself." "But don't forget she's worried about us." My husband always dismissed my concerns. No matter how much I cleaned the house or studied cooking, my mother-in-law would nitpick and never praise me. Once, she brought vegetables that were nearly expired, and I used them for dinner. Then, she deliberately sighed and grumbled, serving such wilted vegetables to my son and me. I finally realized that she just wanted to bully me. Frustrated by her relentless criticism, I finally spoke to my father-in-law. I wrapped my complaints in oblique language, mentioning how difficult it was to prepare meals for my mother-in-law who often came uninvited. My father-in-law, not knowing she was visiting so frequently, apologized profusely. She told me she was dining out with a friend, so I had no idea she was bothering you. "I'm truly sorry." No, you don't need to apologize. I've been giving her money for meals out, but you haven't taken it. Unfortunately. "Oh, I am really sorry." My father-in-law apologized many times and promised to speak sternly to my mother-in-law, so I decided not to say anything more about her behavior. Just when I thought I could relax, I received a scolding call from the mother-in-law. Hello? You telling on me to my husband, that's really poorly raised. What? I go out of my way to check on you for your own good, and to have it repaid like this, I never expected such a thing. It's not like that, repaying kindness with evil. Normally, you should be grateful to me, but to be annoyed is presumptuous. You weren't raised properly at home, so I'm educating you, and you should be grateful for that. I'm sorry, but it's difficult when you come over without calling first. Does a mother need to ask permission to visit her son's home? My parents wouldn't do that. You really are bold. When you married, you should have adapted to the rules of your husband's family. Despite what was said, the conversation heated up until my mother-in-law was shouting inaudibly and then abruptly hung up the phone. It seemed she had likely called during my father-in-law's absence, making me hesitant to consult him again, as it might just lead to a repetitive cycle. Even though her visits became less frequent, my mother-in-law did not stop coming to our house. My husband, cheered up by her consolation as he complained about his work, seemed unlikely to persuade her to stop visiting. As a result, both he and my mother-in-law started to blame me together. Denise, you just don't show her the respect she deserves. That's right, Patrick. Tell her more. Furthermore, you give me so little allowance even though I earn the money. How terrible, what a wicked wife. While they continued to eat the meal I prepared, complaining, they chatted happily in the living room I had cleaned. When I was washing the dishes, my husband demanded, "At least you could prepare the bath." Expecting me to set everything from the bath towel to pajamas. Far from reprimanding him, the mother-in-law continued to pity him, saying, "Poor thing, having such an inconsiderate wife." After consulting with my father-in-law again and receiving another profuse apology, my frustration with the unresolved actions of my mother-in-law only grew. During this ongoing situation, I noticed that a necklace I had inherited from my mother was missing. Insisting it must have been my carelessness, my husband coldly dismissed it, even though I was sure I had placed it in the drawer. The issue came to light when the mother-in-law next visited our home at dinner time. "Excuse me, mother, that necklace." Oh, what a lowly thing to covet something someone else is wearing. It was indeed the necklace I had lost. A rare design with a unique ornamentation, unmistakably mine, and there she was wearing it in front of me. "Please return it." "How dare you? Are you accusing me of theft?" Desiring others' possessions and calling someone a criminal, it really shows your upbringing. Unable to contain myself, I reached out for the necklace. Suddenly, the mother-in-law raised her voice deliberately, and just then, Patrick, who had come home earlier than usual, saw me, pushed me hard, and I fell against the wall. Looking down at me while holding his mother, Patrick accused me. "Just as Mom said, you've been mistreating her when I'm not around." "Exactly, Patrick. Denise has been terrible to me, and I just wanted to get along." "That's not true, listen. The necklace your mom is wearing is the one I said I lost. I don't want to hear excuses. Mom, let's go out to eat. You, reflect on your behavior. What a kind son you are, Patrick." With those words, my husband took his mother and they left the house. I was left alone, overwhelmed by the shock of not recovering my necklace and the anger towards my husband who sided with his mother without listening to me. This led me to decide on revenge. I consulted with my father-in-law again that same day. He apologized while listening to my side of the story carefully. Hearing that even he was fed up with my mother-in-law's behavior made me plan a setup for the next time she would inevitably visit. As usual, my mother-in-law flaunted the necklace, enjoying my reaction, to which I deliberately asked, "Could you look after the house for a bit? I forgot to buy something." Normally, she would have scoffed at the idea of doing anything herself, but she smiled and agreed pleasantly. "Take your time. I know you're always busy with the house." "Thank you. I'll be back in about 30 minutes. Leaving the mother-in-law at home, I headed out, my heart pounding in the parking lot of the supermarket. If I could just obtain conclusive evidence, I could enact my revenge. However, part of me still hoped that my husband and mother-in-law would come to reflect on their actions and change. After precisely 30 minutes, I returned home to find my husband and mother-in-law having messily enjoyed their dinner in the living room. "Oh, you were so late we started eating without you. The dinner was even simpler than usual today. Don't you feel sorry for Mom? I had asked your mother to look after the house because I forgot something. Enough with the excuses. Be more careful next time." Watching my husband become even more overbearing due to the mother-in-law's presence, I sighed involuntarily. Looking at the pot, I found that only the vegetable stalks were left. He hadn't even thought to save any portion for me, which made me nothing but disgusted. With no hope of them reflecting on their behavior, I finished cleaning up after dinner and checked the setup after my mother-in-law had left. It had worked as expected. Seeing that, my husband's mocking smile appeared even more grotesque to me, resembling the triumphant expression of my mother-in-law showing off the necklace, and I couldn't help but laugh. Revenge came sooner than I thought. On his day off, my husband, along with my mother-in-law, called me to the living room. They both looked cheerfully pleased with themselves as I sat down across from them, pretending to be unaware. "Hey, why didn't you tell us?" "What are you talking about?" "It's about the bank account. If you had that much money, you could have told us. Now you can also do something nice for Mom with it." "I'm lost here." "Don't play dumb. We're talking about your bank account." At that, I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Despite my composed demeanor, they should have been suspicious, yet they cheerfully spread out the estimates for a single-family home on the table. "Mom and Dad, you and I have bought a new 2-family house." "Bought? What do you mean?" "You're slow to catch on. We've used the money from your bank account to make the contract. It's better to buy it outright, no interest, and it's smoother." "Wait a minute, why are you making decisions without asking me?" "Denise, you really must dislike me. That's why you don't want to live together." "Hey, cut it out. That's disrespectful to Mom." "Who's being disrespectful?" "It's far more rude of you two to touch someone's money without permission. You people and your bad manners really do have foul mouths." I had to suppress my laughter at their brazen remarks. Although I was appalled at how awful I had become, I knew they were the reason, and my resolve to seek revenge did not waver. There was a perfect new construction property, so we went ahead and signed the contract. "Whatever you say now, it's too late. I had no idea you were saving up so much. We're married, so there shouldn't be any problem with using our shared property." "Right, it's nasty to hide things. By the way, have you checked whose name is on the bank statement?" "What?" My question made them freeze, and unable to hold back any longer, I burst out laughing. They peered into the bank statement and then looked at me, their faces draining of color. "What the heck is this? What do you mean by that? You're seeing it as it is. Why is it in my husband's name?" "What do you mean why? I never said it was my bank statement." "So what are you saying?" "You stole Dad's bank statement, you thief." "Who's the thief here?" "You went through the trouble of breaking into a locked drawer to take it. That's because you were hiding it like it was something precious." "Oh. So it's okay to steal something precious that your daughter-in-law has? That's the upbringing you received, I assume. Don't talk to Mom like that. You should watch your mouth. Do you even know why your father gave this to me?" "Why, then?" "I heard from your father about why your mom has been spending so much lately. Weren't the two of you skipping work to go on trips together?" "That's, well, the reasons for your absences. You told the company all sorts of things like I was sick or had gone back to my parents' house." I spoke the truth when the manager called, and he was speechless. No way. Realizing that their position was deteriorating, they looked at each other with troubled expressions. But I was no longer in any mood to forgive them. As we sat in silence, the doorbell rang at just the right moment. I walked to the door and ushered in the visitor to the living room, causing them to gasp in shock. When the mother-in-law had come to our house, I had contacted the father-in-law. "Why are you here? I've said it time and again. Don't trouble Denise." But, No buts. When will you two start acting responsibly? Dad, this bitch had your bank statement, and with it. What do you mean this bitch? What kind of upbringing do you think I gave you? It's embarrassing, always mom this, mom that, even at your age. Can't you cherish your wife instead of acting like this? If you're saying that, you should have cared for me more. Not cared for? I've worked to spare you trouble, saved up a fair amount. I made sure you never wanted for money and supported your desires as much as possible. What now? You want me to overlook the harassment of my daughter-in-law? Well, throughout, any attempt at excuses was met with a strong rebuke from my father-in-law, leaving them speechless. They shrank, just looking down, and my father-in-law delivered the final blow regarding the bank statement. As for the bank statement I entrusted to Denise, I told her this. Since I've repeatedly admonished you too, but you've continued to ignore me and trouble her, I asked her to accept this as compensation for your troubles. That can't be. And you two went ahead and used even that money to buy a house. What more am I supposed to do for you? With nothing left to say, my mother-in-law was taken home by my father-in-law. Before they left, I pointed at the necklace around her neck and managed to retrieve it successfully. Seeing what had happened, my father-in-law grabbed her head and forced her to apologize. In the now silent living room, I presented my husband with divorce papers. Why? Why? After all that has happened, you think we can still be a couple? But you're just mad at Mom. I'm disgusted with you too, obviously. No. I won't agree to a divorce. Then shall we go to court? Everything you two did, I'll expose it all to the courts and your company. What? Yes, I recorded you breaking open the lock and taking the bank statement. I got it all on video, the two of you desperately prying it open. No, that's a lie. After doing such things, you dare to call others thieves? What kind of upbringing did you have? Why are you doing this? All of that will be made public too, including the misuse of your father's $300,000, plus my property division and the court costs you'll bear. What will you do? How can you say such cruel things? You still don't get it. Should I have your father lecture you again? Having obtained the divorce papers from my thoroughly disheartened husband, I was finally free. Regarding the $300,000 from my father-in-law, it was decided that it would be treated as compensation from my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law, and they would work to repay a total of $600,000 under the supervision of my father-in-law. Later, I received a single email from my ex-husband seeking reconciliation, sent from a free email address, but I ignored and deleted it. Freed from the source of my stress, my health improved, and I now enjoy life freely with the money given to me by my father-in-law.